Hello, I'm Dr. Jeanette Raymond, psychologist, psychotherapist, and relationship expert, here with part 3 of my series on the essentials of couples communication issues. In the first series, I talked to you about body language, and in the second series, I talked to you about the way in which you approach one another when you're interacting and how all that can impact the way in which you connect. Today, in my third series, I'm going to talk to you about the styles of interacting and how that can play a massive role in whether you understand each other, whether you have made room for one another, and whether you can actually get on together. So we're going to go back to our couple, Rachel and Byron, and I'm going to describe some things that they shared with me in my couples therapy office. One of the things that Rachel would say was that when she tried to address an issue with her husband, Byron, maybe about the way that he spoke to their son that she didn't like, or the way that he didn't clean up the dishes after a meal, or that he didn't pick her up, after work, when they had agreed on time and so on, he would just storm out of the room and go to his friend's house. And she would not know what to do with that. But she definitely felt like he was unavailable, that she couldn't speak to him and have a conversation about her feelings, that he wasn't going to allow it. From Byron's point of view, he would say that he didn't feel he needed to hear all that. He was being scolded and treated like a child. So he just wanted to disappear and so on. But when they came into my office, what we discovered was that he was so angry with her for the way that she was accusing him of being a bad husband, so to speak, that he wanted to punish her and that he wanted to make her feel the pain that he felt. And the only way he could do it was to walk out and go to his friend's house, because he knew that would really annoy her. She didn't like some of his friends, and the thought that he would choose to spend time with them when they have a nice family life would really get to her. So what Byron was doing by going to his friend's house, knowing that she didn't like it, was what we call acting out. He didn't come right out and tell her that he didn't like this and why. He didn't stand up for himself. He didn't assert his feelings. He didn't try to have a conversation. He acted out. And she was left kind of holding the baby. And so, of course, all communication stops. And what do you think is going to happen then? She's going to get more and more angry. He's going to get more and more rigid and withdrawn and less willing to engage in the couple relationship. Now let's take another example that they were both doing into. So one day, Byron shared with me that he really wanted to talk to Rachel about the fact that he was miserable in his career and he wanted a change, but he wanted to discuss it with her before doing anything, because obviously it was going to have a big impact on their income and it might change things quite a bit for the way that they lived. Well, what she did was walk out herself, and then through the week she did little tiny things to show that she didn't want to have this conversation, and it was very upsetting to her. So she'd forget to pick up his dry cleaning even though she promised to do it on her way home. Or she would play music in the car that she knew he didn't like. She would not reply to his texts during the day when he was asking about, their plans for the evening or whatever. So in little tiny ways like that, she would communicate her refusal to have a discussion about his change of career because she didn't want to engage with it. She did not want to feel the anger that he was trying to get away with not being the breadwinner and leaning on her yet again. She didn't want to think about the fact that she was being asked to make allowances for him and that she had to make all the sacrifices. She was furious with him because it reminded her of her dad when he just did whatever he felt like and never thought about the impact on his family. So she then started to act out by, turning on the music he didn't like, not picking up his dry cleaning, and, coming late and so on. Little tiny things to annoy him and get under his skin. But she wouldn't come out and say it. So that's called acting out. As you can see, that's not a very good way of communicating when the couple want to get together and make their lives better, when they're trying to be in it together. So when Byron wanted to verbalize, Rachel acted out. When Rachel wanted to verbalize, Byron acted out. So they were kind of never on the same page at the same time in terms of their styles of communication. And until they came in to the therapy office and I could see this very clearly, this kind of seesaw they were in, they were not aware of it. So they kept doing it and they kept missing each other, getting more and more fraught, that their relationship was falling to bits, that they were exasperated with one another, that each one was trying and the other one wasn't being responsive. And of course that was true. When one person tried, the other one acted out. When the other person tried, the opposite happened. So they were always on the reverse side of what good communication would entail. Once I was explaining that to them and I showed them, they too saw it very clearly. So I was able in my therapy office to help Byron to sit and listen to Rachel's concerns about the way he was behaving that she didn't like, that the things he was doing that were problematic to her. And once he heard it and he understood it, and she told him what it reminded him of, her of, he was able to take it and not just run away and act out and have a temper tantrum and hope it hurt her and then, come back and try it again. She was able to tell him how hurt she felt that he would go to friends and leave her in the lurch and not really share the communication with her. And he was able to tell Rachel how he felt that she would disappear and not listen to, do things that really annoyed him when he was wanting to have a very serious conversation about how miserable he was at work and his wish to change, that he wanted to do something that they both agreed with. He didn't want to go solo. He didn't want to put the family at risk. But of course she wasn't hearing that because in her mind he was behaving like her dad. He was irresponsible. So once they could see this, they were able to try to verbalize instead of rushing in this impulsive way to act out and punish each other and make each other feel bad and feel powerful in that place. It was such a wonderful moment to see them with tears in their eyes say, yeah, I get how bad that is for you, but that's not where I'm coming from. This is where I'm coming from. I'm just miserable in my job. Do you want me to be miserable? I'm not going to be available to you as a husband. I'm not going to be a good dad. I'm not going to be a good partner because I'm just miserable all the time. And then Rachel was able to say, yeah, I get it. Let's look at some other options. I'll be happy to do some searches with you. Let's see what we can arrange. Let's see how we can adapt. That we're all in it together. It's not just your burden. And similarly with Byron, he was able to see that it's not all his burden when she needs him to do things that he can't do or is not able to do in that time, and that it's something they all share no matter where the source of it is. And once the acting out became less, their togetherness became much more tender and enhanced and much more rewarding for both of them. And that's a way in which therapy and my special coaching for relationship plans can help you with your partner, because one of you will be acting out when the other one is verbalizing and stopping the flow of communication. So let me know if you've had experiences like that, where you've been on the end of wanting to act out and punish and not listen and teach them a lesson and so on. You do things that they don't like go to, go drinking or play loud music or, be late and so on. Or you're the one who's been trying to talk and verbalize and have a communication going that is more honest and open and empathic, rather than trying to evoke punishment and guilt and shame. You've probably been on both ends, so look inside you and see when you've been in one place and see where you've been on the other. What's it like in those two places? Do let me know. Let me know if you have any questions, and check in and watch the other two videos if you haven't already watched them. See you next time on my 4th video on this special series of communication issues for couples.